I'm David Scandura.
I'm Justice Burkett.
And today we're here to find out, is Jurassic Park 3 the greatest movie ever made?
Dr. Grant isn't looking for Eric. He's looking for the coast.
Okay, fine. Go ahead and scream. And then when that tricyclops attacks you, don't come crying to me.
Welcome to the greatest movie ever made, the show where we watch a movie and tell you if it's the greatest movie ever made.
Alan.
Eric!
Eric! Poor Taya Leoni. She is a better actress than this movie allows her to be.
I've only seen her in this.
Okay.
I only know her from this, and she has a thankless fucking job in this thing.
Okay, I'm intended to say this later, but we might as well just say it now because we started with this. This movie is misogynistic. like Taya Leoni's character and Laura Dern's character, right? Like that's what you get for women in this movie. And both of them are defined by being moms. Laura Dern is barely seen without a baby on her hip in this movie. And then Taya Leoni is like running around through fucking Isla Sorna screaming for her lost son. And I'm like, did the people who wrote this movie hate women? It was really jarring for me this time. I was like, wow, this seems like really kind of fucked. That like the only thing that a woman can be in this world is a mom. And also, if you divorce your husband, that is punishable by your new boyfriend getting eaten by dinosaurs, and then you have to fall in love with the guy that you divorced. It just seems misogynistic to me. I don't know. in like sort of a relatively, I don't want to say harmless, but kind of like it's that effortless sort of non-vitriolic 2001 Hollywood misogyny. It's the casual misogyny, right? It's just like yeah, so like both of the women are just like blondes who are completely defined by the men in their lives and only exist to rear children, right? That we all agree that that's what women are like. And I was like, I don't know about that Amblin Entertainment.
Yeah, well, the first one is like Laura Dern is a paleontologist and she's strong-willed. And
she's a badass in the first movie.
And has a feminist perspective on things.
Yes, she's a badass. She like runs into that fucking bunker to like turn the power back on and gets chased by raptors and shit. She's like, fucking tending to a sick triceratops in that movie. And then in this movie, it's basically like, my husband works at the State Department and I rear his children in our giant mansion.
And I am here for a paycheck.
Right.
Which, good for her.
Yeah. Good for Laura Dern.
Yeah.
And I'm delighted to see her in this movie. I just wish that the character was anything other than, I used to be a scientist, but then I discovered that my place as a woman is in the home. Like, okay. Anyway.
And in the second one, Julianne Moore, who is a little annoying in that one, she's at least like a photographer and is on the island of her own volition and is happy to be there and plays a role throughout the story that is like meaningful to the plot. Jurassic Park 3, in a lot of ways, says, those other two movies? What if we did them but stupid?
Yes. So we touched on the thing that I don't really like about, one of the things I don't really like about this movie, which is the rampant casual misogyny. You just touched upon the thing that I like about this movie, which is it's dumb as dog shit, baby. This movie is stupid. And I'm like, for the third entry in a franchise about dinosaurs, the first one in the series of which, right? This is the first one in the series that isn't based on a Michael Crichton book. This is totally the correct move for this third entry in the franchise to take. Is be like, well, we don't have Michael Crichton source material. This is the third one of these. The first one came out like almost a decade ago at this point. What if it was just only stupid dinosaur action and none of the like science or like thematic stuff at all?
Yeah, because the second one kind of, I rewatched the second one recently because I was a huge defender of Lost World.
I think it's bad.
For a long time.
Yeah.
But I rewatched it and that was my problem with it, is it's trying to be a monster movie and a science fiction movie at the same time.
Right, and do the preachy Michael Crichton stuff from the first one.
And it just doesn't work. But here they're like, all right, let's just have some of the preachy science stuff to like remind you that this is a Jurassic Park movie.
Like one line from Sam Neill every like 30
yeah,
minutes.
we're gonna lead into that saccharine tug on your heartstrings main theme.
Yes.
Just a few times throughout the movie when and someone can make some comment about how cool it is that dinosaurs exist again.
Right.
And we'll move on from that to more stupid shit.
And then most of the time, it's like, let's have a CGI dinosaur or a dinosaur puppet gnashing its jaws at the camera. Like, that's most of the runtime of the movie.
Welcome to the greatest movie ever made, the show where we watch a movie and tell you if it's the greatest movie ever made. I'm David Scandura, joined as always by my co-host and 6-foot turkey, Justice Burkett.
More like a 6-foot turkey. I hope that kid, not the actual actor, but the child character from the first Jurassic Park movie who says that shit to Sam Neill, I hope that he meets a painful end.
That's the worst movie kid, I think. I think he's the worst. We have a couple. We'll talk about the movie kids in this one.
Yeah.
6-foot turkey kid sucks.
And when Alan Grant scares the shit out of him with the Velociraptor claw and shit, I'm like, Alan Grant did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Like, he honestly, I don't think he went far enough. But we're not talking about Jurassic Park 1, in which that happens today. We are talking about Jurassic Park Trey.
Yes. On another normal and not at all weird installment of the greatest movie ever made podcast.
Yes, thank you all for joining us for Shaky Cam Summer Camp, where nothing weird happened and all the episodes were normal. And this episode will continue that trend of being totally normal. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I have had a decent start to my work week so far. We're recording this episode on a Tuesday evening, which is not our normal record schedule. So I have a couple work week days under my belt already, and so far so good. And yeah, I'm feeling okay and a little bit tired and already sort of feeling burnt out from the week, which is, you know, not a great sign because we're not even halfway through yet. But I'm chilling. I'm making it through. How are you doing, David?
I'm good. I had a busy weekend. I went on a hike with you that I was not prepared for and was extremely tired and sore after that. So, like, it sucked, but it was also good.
Yeah, that's thing. That's what we call type 2 fun. Type 1 fun is like, while I'm doing this activity, I'm enjoying it in the moment. And like, wow, this is so fun. I'm glad I'm having fun right now. Type 2 fun is like, it sort of sucks while you're doing it and you sort of regret being there. But then like later, when you're no longer in the situation anymore, you look back and you're like, okay, I'm glad I did that.
I was having type 1 fun for the all of the hike there.
Yes.
And then about a quarter of the hike back.
Right.
And that's when I ran out of water and my shoes had really started hurting because they didn't quite fit like they used to. And
it was also hot as balls.
Yeah,
it was really hot.
It had gotten hot at that point of the day. So I spent the last 3/4 of the way back just bringing up the rear, inching my way along that trail. But it was good to get out and experience nature.
Yeah. We had a good time with our friend and past guest and friend of the show, Kelsey Hans.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as far as work, I had Monday off, bitch. And as far as work today, I just fucking coasted through that shit.
Nice.
And I'm working on writing some music.
Yeah.
Writing and recording some music. I hope to do that on Monday, but it didn't quite work out, so that kind of bummed me out. But I'm going to keep working on it a little bit and fine-tuning things and hopefully get to record it this weekend, maybe.
Nice.
As far as shit that I've been enjoying, I know I didn't ask you yet, but I'm gonna just I'll just say it because fuck you.
I know how this works, and I could have thrown it in there if I'd wanted to.
I just been listening to lots of country music,
yeah.
So I've really gotten into Johnny Paycheck recently, and then just other stuff like Marty Robbins and Billy Joe Shaver and Johnny Cash, obviously. So yeah, just been I've been listening to more country than I have maybe ever in my life.
Nice. Have you gotten into John Prine yet?
I've heard a bit of John Prine.
Yeah.
But I haven't done a deep dive on John Prine.
John Prine sort of unlocked something in my brain where I was like, Oh, I am capable of appreciating all country because John Prine does such a good job of distilling what country music is down to like its purest essence. At least that was my experience.
That's kind of what I like about Paycheck.
Yeah.
Because Paycheck has that outlaw country edge to him.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of his music is classified as outlaw country, but like he has a pretty diverse catalog and did a lot of different things, especially like back in the 60s when he was coming out. His 60s material is much like poppier and more honky tonk, like classic Nashville sound.
Right.
So that's been, he doesn't quite have the hard edge of a Waylon or a Merle or a Johnny Cash with a lot of his material in terms of the way it sounds. So like that was really kind of eye-opening to me, and that I love outlaw country. I love Paycheck's outlaw country stuff, but
I love, by the way, just referring to him by his surname. I like that you're just calling him Paycheck. That's a very funny thing to call him.
Yeah, I'm personal friends with dead guy Johnny Paycheck,
country singer and noted dead guy Johnny Paycheck. Yeah.
That's what I've been enjoying. What have you been listening to recently, or watching, or whatever?
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't really have a music recommendation necessarily because it's mostly been more of the same for me. But one thing that I will shout out is just for anyone who enjoyed Shaky Cam Summer Camp. I did watch a found footage film that I would like to recommend, which is Horror in the High Desert Part 3 Firewatch. I didn't like it as much as Part 2 Minerva, which listeners to our Best of 2023 episode know that I enjoyed that film greatly. I liked Firewatch less than Minerva, but it's still good, and I still think that the Horror in the High Desert series is doing fun and inventive things with that genre, and I'm excited to see what Dutch Marriage does in the 4th and 5th installments, which he has planned and has apparently already been filming some of.
Good to hear that a found footage horror series has continued to be good after the 3rd installment.
Yes, which I feel like, as far as I am aware, this might be the only time that's happened. Anyway.
We're talking about Jurassic Park 3.
Yes, we are.
You know what? Watching this movie, there was a moment when they're looking at the camera, that they find Ben's camera and they're looking at the footage. I was like, found footage dinosaur movie would rock.
That'd be kind of fun. Yeah. As I was watching this movie, I was thinking about a lot. This movie contains a lot of points at which, if the filmmakers had made, or if the scriptwriters had made drastically different decisions, it would just be a different type of Jurassic Park movie. So I did keep having like pitch ideas for Jurassic Park universe films while I was watching this. Found footage dinosaur movie wasn't one of them, but like there were definitely some that were coming up for me where like the military shows up at the end of this movie, and I was like, oh fuck, they should do like a Jurassic Park movie where it's like army versus dinosaurs. Like, where it's just, like, the military v dinosaurs. Like, that would be fun. Like, maybe you're, like, following, like, a military unit that's sent to one of these islands for some kind of mission, you know? Like, that would be kind of fun.
Yeah.
And they sort of set that up as the thing in this movie with the mercenaries with the big guns, but then they get killed and the big guns all get trashed and nobody even uses them, right? But I was like, oh, that would be kind of a thing if it was, like, yeah, it's, like, an elite squad that has to go onto, like, Isla Nublar and fucking save an ambassador or some shit, and there's dinosaurs or whatever, you know?
Yeah, I feel like the possibilities have kind of been endless with Jurassic Park, and then they just continue to squander them.
Right, they just keep going, well, what if there was a theme park with dinosaurs? And it's like, that was the first one.
Yeah.
Like, that's what Jurassic World is.
Yeah, and World's like, oh, the park's open now.
And it's like, okay, so there's more people, and that's the only thing that's different about this.
And then Fallen Kingdom's fucking weird. Because the first half is like, we got to go save the fucking dinosaurs off of the island that's exploding, and then the second half is like a gothic horror movie in a castle where they're having an illegal dinosaur auction.
That sounds bad.
And then they release all the dinosaurs into the world. So in Jurassic World Extinction, no, not Extinction, Jesus, Jurassic World Dominion, the most recent one. It's like, now there's just fucking dinosaurs everywhere, and somehow they fuck that up.
I was going to say, that should be
squander
that
dinosaurs.
Promise.
Yeah, there's a point in that movie where it becomes a Jason Bourne movie with dinosaurs, and I was like, this kind of rules, but it also sucks.
Yeah.
Which it also kind of describes this film. But like, yeah, fucking do Predator style movie with dinosaurs on the fucking island with the squad.
Yeah.
Give me
For a second I thought you were going to say like Predator v Jurassic Park.
Oh, sure.
Like a Predator shows up and is hunting dinosaurs on Jurassic Park.
I want to see the Predator face off against the fucking raptors. That'd be cool. I really want one with the aquatic dinosaurs, like because the mosasaur features heavily throughout the Jurassic World films. That's my favorite character in the Jurassic World films is the mosasaur. And Fallen Kingdom opens with a primo sequence featuring the mosasaur. Just give me a whole movie of that.
Yeah.
There's so many places that you could go with the budget that these movies have and these effects, and it sucks that these are the only like big budget science fiction dinosaur movies that we've had other than like
Peter Jackson's King
Kong. Yeah. Jurassic Park 3.
Yes, Jurassic Park 3. David, what's your history with the franchise and also like more specifically this installment? This is the one we're talking about.
This may have been the first one that I saw.
Yeah.
I honestly don't remember because when I finally watched the first Jurassic Park, it was on a blank VHS that we had taped the showing of it on cable.
Mm-hmm.
I remember for whatever reason it took a long time to get my parents to do that.
Yeah.
So I may have seen Jurassic Park 3 first and then gone back and watched the first one. But Jurassic Park 3 was like a core movie experience of my childhood.
Yeah.
I remember this movie. I remember going to see this in theaters. I remember when it was coming out. I had always been a dinosaur kid. I think every white cisgendered male growing up in the 90s experienced the after effects of Jurassic Park, the pop culture wave of interest in dinosaurs that started because of Jurassic Park.
Yeah, I kind of remember that like among like the boys in like my elementary school class, it's like you were either a space kid, like an outer space kid, or a dinosaur kid, and I was definitely a dinosaur kid.
I was a space kid too, but I fucking loved dinosaurs.
Yeah, and their crossover is possible. I was fully in the dinosaur camp,
and I
don't give a shit about space, and I still don't.
And I was a shark kid too.
Yeah.
Fucking love sharks.
I wasn't really a shark kid. I was, again, pretty firmly planted in the dinosaur camp.
Mm-hmm.
I had a Velociraptor t-shirt that I wore to a public pool because I was a little bit of a chubby kid at points in my childhood, and I went to the pool with a shirt on because I was too embarrassed to take my shirt off at the pool.
Tale as old as time.
I had a t-shirt with a Velociraptor on it that I wore at a public pool. And then, like, when I went to leave the pool, I changed it into a dry t-shirt, and I must have left it at the public pool, and it still haunts me to this day because that shirt was like the coolest fucking shirt I owned. And like, I thought about it clearly I'm still thinking about it now. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's the one that got away, the t-shirt that got away. And I remember like I had my mom call the pool and be like, did you find a shirt with a Velociraptor on it? And they were like, no, we don't have it. And
yeah, I remember the marketing for the movie. I remember the poster.
Yeah.
The poster's so cool.
Good poster.
Great fucking poster. And I'm comparing it to the modern ones with all the floating heads. Like Jurassic Park, you just need that logo.
Yeah.
And you need something new about the logo.
Yeah.
And 3 did a perfect job.
Yeah. With
the Spinosaurus on the seal and the silver and red, and then the slashes for the 3.
Yeah.
And then the shadow of the pterodactyl. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good poster. It doesn't come close to touching the poster for that first one, which is like one of the greatest posters of all time, but it's very good.
But it's not trying to either.
No,
I think the Jurassic World ones, when they've used the logo, when they've done the logo poster, they've all tried to stick pretty close to that original. And I like that this one just goes different. I like a lot of things about this movie.
Me too.
And I think I've always liked this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was a point in my life where I was like, this is the worst one. But I still kind of like it. And I think that's still where I'm at with these original 3 movies. But again, I think Lost Worlds dropped for me a bit. I mean, this one is fucking Citizen Kane compared to the World movies. But yeah, I've always had a soft spot for this one. Maybe it was because it may have been the first one that I saw.
Yeah.
But like you mentioned earlier, this one just takes a really simple, direct approach with the premise, and I appreciate that about this.
Yeah.
What's your history with this?
Yeah, my history with this one is fairly similar to yours, although I am almost positive, not almost positive, I am positive that I saw the first Jurassic Park before I saw this.
Mm-hmm.
Because I definitely saw the first Jurassic Park before 2001 when this movie came out. Like, I'm pretty sure I saw the first Jurassic Park when I was like 5. So definitely saw this one. I think second or maybe third. I might have seen Lost World before 3 came out as well. But it was a big staple of my childhood, just like for you. I don't think I saw this one in the theater. I maybe did, but I definitely saw it a ton on DVD and video, right? Like, this was a big rental. We might have owned this one. I don't remember, but I saw it a bunch of times and remembered it very, very well from my childhood, even though I hadn't revisited it in a long, long time. Similarly to you, I think for this first trilogy, I kind of think that this is my second favorite. Like, I kind of would put this above Lost World, honestly. Which I don't know if that's what you were saying your current ranking is.
I'm not exactly sure, but I think currently it might be above Lost World.
Yeah, because Lost World just feels like it's like 2 movies smashed together, whereas this feels like it 100% knows what it is, for better and worse, right?
Mm-hmm.
But and nothing can touch that first one, which is one of the best action adventure films ever made. So I have a soft spot for this movie, despite acknowledging its many, many flaws, both prior to this most recent rewatch and definitely now after watching it last night. I'm like, yeah, this is not like a good movie. Like, it's maybe a good movie. It's not a movie that is any better than like a 6 or 7 out of 10.
It's very earnest with its stupidity.
It is, and that earns it a ton of goodwill from me, right? Because it's like, this movie is not trying to be anything that it isn't. Like I said before, it knows that it is the third entry in a series of movies about islands full of dinosaurs, right? And it's like, well, we dealt with all the big ideas that there are to deal with in the source material in the first and second installment. There's not really anything else for us to mine there. So it's an island full of dinosaurs. Let's just do 92 minutes of that. And I'm like, yeah, like, God bless it. That is the correct choice.
Yeah, and the world movies are all like, now we have to fit it into this framework of the Hollywood legacy sequel.
Right.
And, build out this franchise and build out the world with characters and do these long, overblown nostalgia fests that cater to the old fans but bring in the new fans. Like, it fits into that formula. And Joe Johnston comes along in this one is like, let's just make a stupid monster movie with dinosaurs.
Right. And the new characters that you're introduced to.
And it's not, and again, like you said, they're not pretending that it isn't a stupid movie with dinosaurs,
right,
whereas the world ones are. They're trying to be like, no, these are good prestige Hollywood blockbusters.
Yeah.
But in reality, they are just stupid monster movies.
Right. So they just need to lean into that more.
Yeah,
I love that the new characters in this movie that are introduced just for 3 are pretty like one-dimensional, and like you don't get a ton of like backstory or like emotional attachment to really any of them. Like, even William H. Macy, who's second build in this movie, you learn some like basic facts about his character, and then the rest of it is like, oh, what a pathetic little limp noodle this guy is. And then he learns to be a hero, and I'm like, that is the most basic ass like screenwriting 101 character arc, where it's like, show that this guy is kind of a wormy little coward, and then there are circumstances where he has to step up and become more admirable. And I'm like, but God damn it works. Yes, I've seen this character in 15,000 other movies, but like, it works.
There's just enough divorce bickering between him and Téa Leoni to like fulfill the requirement of 2 characters that have a divorce.
Yes.
And are going through a divorce, and it's still annoying in this.
Yeah.
But it's like, there's never more of it than we need.
And then he does heroic things like 3 times, and she gives him fuck eyes every time. And at the end of the movie, it's like, well, they're back together now. And it's like,
they don't even kiss. It's like they might be back together.
It's sort of implied. Yeah. For sure. So like, that's my history with the movie is pretty similar to yours.
What was your favorite dinosaur as a kid?
I had it down in my notes to ask you that question as well, David. Wow, synchronicity.
Should we count to 3 and say it?
And say our favorite dinosaur?
Yeah.
I think we better. Wait, are we going 1, 2, 3 and then we say it?
Let's just yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
T-Rex.
Ankylosaur. Oh, okay.
And you know what? As an Ankylosaur fan, as a child, and even into the present day, I was thrilled by this film.
Well, because we get an Ankylosaur for half a second.
Oh, there's multiple Ankylosaurs.
There are?
There's the big close-up of the Monchin, but then later when after they think that what's his fucking name? The young paleontologist guy. I already forgot his name. Billy. After they think Billy has died and they're like going down the river on the raft, and the sun's coming up and there's the beautiful shot of all the dinosaurs. You see Ankylosaurs there too.
Okay.
And I was like fist pumping. I was like, hell yeah, there's my boys.
It's like an overhead shot, I think.
Yeah.
When they're going down the river, yeah.
So you're a big T-Rex fan.
I was a T-Rex kid like everyone else.
Classic.
But
yeah.
What I was going to ask is, when this came out, did it change from Ankylosaur to Spinosaurus? Because for me, it changed from T-Rex to Spinosaurus.
I was definitely a big Spinosaurus fan seeing this movie as a kid. It probably supplanted the Ankylosaur and went into the top spot, but probably not for too long, because there's just something about a lizard that is covered in spikes and has a fucking mace for a tail that has always drawn me. I'm like, yeah, if I was a dinosaur, I'd want to be that one. The one that's like a fucking tank and has like a huge fucking ball of bone on its tail that it smacks stuff with. It's rad as hell. Dinosaurs are so cool. Yeah. So should we talk about the movie?
Yeah, let's talk about the movie.
Talk about our favorite dinosaurs.
Jurassic Park 3.
Yes, Jurassic Park 3. Much like the poster, good title card where it says Jurassic Park in the classic font, and then the 3 scratches go through it, and then the camera zooms through one of the scratches, and it's the establishing shot of the island.
It's very 2000s and very rad. I also love the vanity cards for the production logos.
Yeah.
Have the water rippling effect.
Yes, the T-Rex footstep. Yeah.
That was fun.
Even though that's, thankfully, I think, I like that it's not a thing that they actually go back in the movie. They don't, because they even do it in Lost World. Mm-hmm. But in this one, they're just like, no, we're not doing the rippling thing when the Spinosaurus or the T-Rex is walking around. And I'm like, good. Like, I saw that in those other movies. If you put it in here, it would feel like lazy and obvious. And they don't. But yeah, so we open on Isla Sorna.
Yes.
Which is the second island. Nublar is the one that's in Jurassic Park 1.
This is Site B.
Yes, so Site B. And there is a tourist like dino spotting company that will like put you on a parasail and haul you by a boat past the island so that you can like looky-loo at dinosaurs. And I fucking love that the name of this company is Dino-Soar, SOAR.
They had one opportunity.
It's so
they
fucking
took it.
funny. And like it also feels really real, because it's like the guys piloting this boat are just like guys who like live in Costa Rica, and they're like, oh, you know what would be a profitable business? Taking these fucking white dumbasses to that dinosaur island and giving them binoculars and like sending them up in a parachute. And that totally tracks that those guys would name their business Dinosaur.
It feels like it's a scam, because like they're really far from the coast.
Yeah, I don't think these guys.
I don't think you're seeing shit.
No, I don't think these guys actually expect these tourists to see anything, and definitely don't expect to be eaten by dinosaurs themselves.
Eaten by something that we never see.
Yeah, something in the fog, which it's like
it's probably pteranodons, but it's funny that they never do anything with it.
But I thought the pteranodons were stuck in the cage.
Exactly.
So it's like, what is it?
Yeah.
It also doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
But yeah, they go into the fog bank while this kid and his stepdad, mom's boyfriend, it's undefined.
Uncle. He has uncle energy.
Yeah.
He said friend. They said he was a friend. I think Ben might have mob ties. I think that's how he got these tickets.
That's how he got the dinosaur.
Hey, I got these 2 fucking tickets to go see the dinosaurs in Costa Rica. They're illegal. Come with me, child.
Yeah, the guy who traffics my cocaine for me out of Guatemala or whatever is cousins with the guy who runs Dinosaur.
Hey, Eric, I got a couple dinosaur tickets. They fell off the back of a truck. Happy birthday.
Yes. So yeah, it's this guy Ben and this kid Eric are like up in the parachute, and the boat guys they go into fog. The boat guys get eaten by dinosaurs. They fucking disconnect the parachute before it like crashes onto the rocks, and then they like sail down onto the island. And this is our inciting incident for the film, which like again, this movie, the efficiency of the storytelling in this movie is something that I do admire greatly, because it's like, this scene is less than 5 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
It just like, it happens. You see the parachute sail onto the island, and then it's like, and okay, now we're catching up with Alan Grant, right? And I cannot overstate how much it is to this movie's benefit that Alan Grant is on a plane to Isla Sorna at minute 15, and that plane is crashed on the island at minute 22.
Yeah.
Like, if it took any longer to get this thing going, the movie would be way worse. But because you're on that island with like an hour and 10 minutes of just dinosaur mayhem to go, it's like you're exactly where you want to be. They are so efficient with this, and I admire it so much.
I think the pacing in this movie is really efficient too, and almost kind of breakneck at points, where it seems like we're moving from sequence to sequence to sequence pretty quickly. And even the dinosaur stuff is like kind of short.
Yeah.
Like we get a little bit of dinosaurs, and then we calm down a little bit, and a little bit more dinosaurs, and then it seems like we get more as the movie goes on.
Yeah, you don't get that thing that you sometimes get with like big summer blockbusters, especially nowadays, but like even the 80s and 90s and aughts had their offenders of this, where the action sequence goes on so long that you start getting like action sequence fatigue. There's none of that in this movie.
You know what I call that?
What?
I call that the Pirates of the Caribbean wheel fight.
Yeah,
that's
boy.
that effect where it's like, okay, we had this action sequence.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna put a hat on a hat with it, and it's just we're still going. It's
Yeah.
just now crazier and bigger than it was before.
I would argue that like most of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies after the first one are offenders of that, where it's just like this action sequence, like this set piece is like 30 minutes long. And I'm like, but for what and why? And why does this movie have to be over 2 hours?
Yeah, and I'm not calling out Pirates of the Caribbean specifically.
Yeah.
That's just like that's the most prime example I can think of.
Yeah, you just start getting fatigue from like looking at all these CGI objects, you know.
But that's what happens in the new ones too, where the new Jurassic World movies, where it seems like things are just going on too long. And I was shocked that like that sequence later in the movie when they're in the ruined lab, and they come across the raptors. That's like they're in and out of there,
right? It's like a minute,
really
and a half.
quick.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. No,
Really?
I think that all of that is great.
You know what else I think is great in this movie?
Sam Neill.
Sam Neill.
Yes. Welcome to the show, Sam Neill. We haven't talked about a Sam Neill
so.
movie yet, have we?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
no.
welcome to the show, Sam Neill. One of my favorite actors. Sam Neill.
I couldn't remember. I was like, does he sleepwalk through this or not? And watching this movie, he seems like he is real excited about being in this fucking dinosaur movie.
I think he's committed.
I think he's doing great work in this.
And it's also like, because sometimes you get the actor back for the later installment, and it kind of doesn't feel like the same character anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, okay, Sam Neill showed up and is doing shit. That's not how it is in this movie at all. I'm like, no, he's playing Alan Grant. Whereas, like, I feel like a big example of that is when I saw Harrison Ford in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I was like, this doesn't feel like the same guy.
Yeah,
like that doesn't
yeah.
feel like Indiana Jones. It feels like Harrison Ford showed up to get a paycheck so he can buy a new plane to crash. And it doesn't feel like he's like doing the character from the movies that I loved. This does not feel that way. This very much feels like the same guy from the first movie, which is like, I love it so much. And it feels like he's like grown, and like that it's like almost a decade later or whatever. But he's still recognizably like Alan Grant from Jurassic Park 1.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
This opening with Alan, we're just catching up with Alan. He's still a paleontologist with an underfunded dig site.
Yes.
Still pining after Laura Dern, but she's cucked him and married this guy in the State Department now.
Yeah. Who, to be fair to Mark, her husband at the State Department, seems like a real nice guy. He seems like a good dude, especially when like they're all at dinner and like one of the babies starts fussing or whatever, and he's like, no, like I'll deal with it, I'll leave you two to catch up. So he's very clearly like not threatened by her friendship with Alan, or he has a cuck fetish, who knows. But he's like, yeah, I'll leave you two to talk, I'll deal with the baby. And Laura Dern's like, thanks babe, and he's like, yeah, no problem. And I'm like, Mark seems like an all right guy.
Yeah. And I love this lecture that he gives. You mentioned Harrison Ford. Sam Neill is answering questions at this lecture like he's Harrison Ford on a Star Wars panel.
Yes. Where he's like,
I hope John Hammond fucking dies.
I love the bit. I love the bit where like the lady who is like moderating the panel discussion with Alan Grant asks the audience if they have any questions, and all the hands shoot up, and he's like, any questions that aren't about Jurassic fucking Park? Like all the hands go down. Just like everybody who came to this lecture bought a ticket because they were like, that's the guy who survived the dinosaur island thing.
Mr. Grant, does life find a way? I don't fucking care.
He's so grumpy and so cantankerous in this movie, and I really, really love it. I love Sam Neill always. My two favorite Sam Neill modes are he's just like sullen and grumpy and over it, or he is like fucking batshit insane. Like, those are my two favorite things to see him do.
Yeah.
And in this one, we don't get any batshit insane Sam Neill, but we get plenty of cantankerous old fuck.
I think with Sam Neill, like a lot of character actors that we enjoy, like Lance Henriksen, or like we said, Harrison Ford, you can tell when he's just there for a paycheck.
Yeah.
Like he's good, but he's not Sam Neill.
Yeah.
He's definitely Sam Neill here.
Yeah.
I love the wry smile that he has throughout this movie.
Yeah.
When he's like, just so you know, we're probably not getting off this island alive. And he delivers that line smiling. So fucking good.
Yeah. And there's even a moment when, I don't remember if there's even a line that's associated with it, but there was a moment that I clocked where like one of Eric's parents, it's either Taya Leoni or William H. Macy, like makes a comment about like, oh, I know he's alive, and they like cut to a reaction shot of Sam Neill, and he's kind of doing this little smirk being like, these fucking morons, their kid is dead as hell. Yeah, so basically, Sam Neill is doing his sad little lectures and having his sad little catch-up meal with Laura Dern. And then, like, as this is happening, we're also getting some of this. He seems to be, like, a mercenary guy. I don't remember the dude's name. The, like, main dude who lives the longest.
Udesky.
Yeah. We get some stuff with Udesky, and he's like, these mercenaries who he's hired are like testing exploding ammunition on this plane and shit. And then like, so we're getting it intercut with that, and we're like, as a first time viewer of this, you don't really know what's going on with them yet. And then we catch up with Alan Grant, and he's at the dig site in Montana. And this is where we meet Billy, who's like this young fucking extreme sports adventure dude who is also a paleontology nerd.
Is also hot and is also trying to fuck one of the other paleontologists.
Yeah, one of the other paleontology students. He's like, here, let me grab your hand and teach you how to feel the difference between the dinosaur bone and the rock really sensually. And she's like into it. Like, she's like, ooh. And he's like, yeah. And then Alan Grant walks up and he's like, oh, hey, Dr. Grant. And he's like trying to like tuck his boner between his legs. But yeah, so then we get a little bit of establishing stuff with them. Billy shows Alan Grant his 3D printed fucking Velociraptor resonating chamber that makes raptor noises when you blow into it.
I was going to call it a 3D printed Velociraptor fleshlight.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. It's part of its throat, probably, right?
Yeah.
is
They make blowjob fleshlights.
the
with little
mama
lips on
raptor
the
in
end.
this movie the throat goat? Let us know.
I also like that he has to explain 3D printing to Alan Grant. Whereas
Yes,
now it's
without
just like,
using the words 3D printing because
Yeah.
they hadn't invented that term yet. He was like, it's an immediate compositing device or some shit. And I was like, that's just a 3D printer. Like, we all know that now. Which is very funny. That this just existed like on the cutting edge of 3D printing. It's also like watching Jurassic Park 1 now and seeing like some of the technology in that movie and just being like, this was like cutting edge shit in the mid 90s and now it looks so dated. Yeah.
and even some of that computer shit in Jurassic Park, that wasn't even true for the 90s.
Right,
Like, that's
right.
not at all how computers work.
Yeah.
Alessandro Nivola as Billy.
Mhm.
There are a lot of things that I will be saying about Billy over the course of this show.
Yeah.
Just to make a comment on Alessandro Nivola, who I have seen like as a good actor. Like, I watched him in Many Saints of Newark, and he was one of the best things about that movie.
Yeah.
He is not great in this movie.
Yes.
And it also feels like he's trying to break into like being an action star.
Yes.
It feels like he's like, all right, we're gonna do Jurassic Park 3, and then I'm getting a supporting role in the next Mission Impossible.
Right. Then I'm gonna be Jason Bourne.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I don't know, dude. I'm not sure about that. Yeah, I also was not enamored with this performance. He's one of the weakest ones for me. Among the main group of characters, he is easily the weakest one for me. Where I'm just like, anytime Billy's talking, I'm like, shut your fucking mouth, Billy. I swear to God. Yeah. And also just, he has the worst poker face literally of all time. After he steals those raptor eggs, anytime he's like, his face is on camera, he's just like, oh, I hope nobody figures out I stole those raptor eggs. It's like, play it cool, man. Like, he's so fucking bad at lying to people.
Yeah, as a character, he sucks.
Yeah, he sucks. He's bad.
Billy sucks, and he should have died.
He should have died. It's kind of bullshit he survives at the end of the movie.
Yeah, it's really bullshit.
Especially because his death is good.
This movie shot without a finished script. Like, they never had a final script, which is something that Joe Johnston almost quit the movie over. So I'm wondering if I think an earlier draft had Billy die.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this was like a reshoot or a studio mandate to have him show up on that
They
helicopter
were like,
at the
it's
end.
a kids movie. Somebody has to survive, other than like the main 4 people.
Yeah, but it's kind of bullshit that we kill the 3 members of the world's worst merc squad.
Yeah.
At the beginning of this movie, and then no one dies for the rest of the movie. Which, like, not a ton of people die in Jurassic Park 1.
Right.
Lost World, we're killing tons of folks in that movie. But
yeah, when it's basically King Kong but with a lizard and San Diego at the end, yeah.
But for a stupid monster, for a Jurassic Park movie that's fully embracing being a stupid monster movie, let's see Billy get torn apart by those pteranodons, please.
Yeah, which we do see. Like, they're pecking at him in the water. The water's turning all bloody, and I was like, good death, like good PG-13 death. And then he shows up on the chopper at the end, and I was like, that's fucking horseshit. Absolutely not. We saw like a swarm of like 6 pteranodons fucking pecking at him in the water. Absolutely no way he survived that.
Yeah. Welcome back to the show, William H. Macy, who shows up and is like, hey, I'll fund your dig site. I have a business proposition for you. Let me take you to this seedy dive bar that's totally not suspicious at all.
The seedy dive bar, by the way, where Billy and Alan Grant already know everybody. Like, Alan Grant comes in and he's like slapping a guy on the shoulder who's sitting at the bar. He's like, hey, what's up, man? And did you clock that the bartender's name at this bar is Catfish?
No.
When Alan and Billy order drinks, because they already this is the bar in the town where their dig site is. They're here all the time, right? William H. Macy is like, hey, what are you boys drinking? Like, it's on us or whatever. And Alan Grant turns to the bartender and says I don't remember what he orders, but he calls him Catfish. And then Billy's like, 2 cat. And I was like, this motherfucker's name is Catfish. It was just very funny to me. I kind of want to hang out at this like seedy Montana dive bar where all the paleontologists like close out the night. Like, seems like a cool hang. But yeah, and William H. Macy doing like a bad impression of a John Hammond type on purpose because his character isn't actually a rich dude, which is like very funny to me.
It is. I could write all kinds of numbers on these checks here.
Yeah.
This is the movie where I first was aware of William H. Macy as an actor.
Yeah.
This is my William H. Macy origin story
It
as a child.
probably is for me too. I can't think of a role I would have seen him in before this.
And to a certain extent, whenever I see him, I'm still like, hey, it's fucking Jurassic Park 3 guy.
It's Mr. Kirby from Jurassic Park 3.
It's also like in, it's kind of like same thing in Holes with Tim Blake Nelson and John Voight. Sigourney Weaver's different. Sigourney Weaver to me.
Sigourney Weaver transcends being in Holes.
Being in Holes, yeah. And to be fair, Tim Blake Nelson and John Voight do too.
Yeah.
But still, I'm just like, every time I see Tim Blake Nelson show up in a, I don't know, Coen Brothers movie or something, it's like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's that guy from Holes. What's his name? Oh, right, Tim Blake Nelson. That's his name.
Yeah, John Voight transcends being in Holes by being a human dumpster.
Yeah.
a piece of shit human being.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for the second time in this franchise, Alan Grant is seduced into taking a plane to a dinosaur island by a guy offering to fund his paleontology research. Which it's like, it's funny that the movie knows that the character knows that this is the second time this has happened to him. And he's like, I can't believe I'm doing this shit again.
We can't, because we just don't fund science in this country.
Yeah. So they're on the plane to go to Isla Sorna. And this is where, so like the mercs are on the plane. I do like the joke when Billy turns around and looks at this sketchy looking dude wearing this like suit and these like black sunglasses. And he's like, so how do you know the Kirbys? And he's like, oh, from our church.
It's so funny.
It's a really funny joke.
Oh, and I love the guy. I love how the guy delivers it too. He just totally plays it off.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's really good. And then John Hammond takes a little nap. He's like, wake me when we get to the island. And then he has an in the mouth of madness dream. Because it's Sam Neill. It reminded me so much of my favorite color is blue. Yeah.
On the bus.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh man. Alan Grant taking a nap on this plane and then having a dream where the
plane
practical,
is empty. There's
the
no
plane
other
is
people
plane
in
is
it.
empty. There's wind blowing through the plane, and a practical velociraptor puppet says, Alan is still the craziest direction this franchise has ever taken.
It's one of the funniest things in this movie, but both that is packed, I think, both with intentional and unintentional humor. And I can't tell which one this is.
Oh yeah, you really can't either.
I don't know if Joe Johnston meant for this to be funny, but it's fucking hilarious. Seeing that raptor go, Alan.
But they devoted time and resources and a great looking velociraptor puppet.
Yes, by the way, you can tell
to this one just like off joke that you could totally cut out of this movie.
You can tell that Stan Winston worked on this movie, by
the
way. Great looking dinosaurs in this movie. And
the raptors especially, I think.
Yeah. I think sometimes when the Spinosaurus is a puppet, it does look a little puppety. But pretty much all the rest of them, Velociraptors, T-Rex, all of the various herbivores that we get close-ups of when they're puppets, all look pretty good.
Yeah, I think we're almost there. I think the thing with the Spinosaurus animatronic is it's a little herky-jerky.
Yeah.
And they're also shooting it in daytime, which they really haven't done in the series up to this point.
Right. And it's like with something this big, when it's the daytime CGI, it still looks okay. I think none of the CGI in this movie is bad. I think some of it, I'm like, okay, that's clearly, you can really tell it's CGI.
Yeah.
And then some of it, I'm like, oh, that is actually really good CGI. And you kind of can't see the seams. I think it ranges from like okay to pretty good. But definitely Spinosaurus in the daytime is some of when it's at its worst. But yeah.
And I think there's a little bit more of a disconnect between the CGI and the practical puppets too. Like, you can really tell the difference in a lot of these scenes, which, the CGI in the original Jurassic Park has not held up as well as a lot of people say that it has.
Yeah.
But I think in a lot of cases, it was hard to tell in that first one for me. And here it's just a little bit more obvious.
Yeah.
But I agree. I think for the most part this holds up. There's a few ones that don't, that really don't. But
yeah,
the Raptors look so good.
the Raptors look pretty good. Yeah. When they're CGI, they look pretty good. When they're animatronics, they look incredible.
Yeah.
Because Stan Winston was working on this, and he's great at what he does. So they are flying over the island. Alan Grant is like doing what he thought he was hired to do, which is like give them a little tour from the air and be like, oh, that's that kind of dinosaur. That's that kind of dinosaur. And they're like not paying attention to him at all. And he's like, wow, tough crowd. And then William H. Macy is like, oh, like land the plane over there. And he's like, wait, no, like we're not landing. That was part of the deal. And one of these goons just fucking knocks him out. And he wakes up, and Téa Leoni is screaming into a megaphone, Eric! and God bless you, Téa Leoni, for committing fully to being what this movie asked you to be, which is just an annoying shrew of a woman, which is very unfortunate. But I do think she's doing a good job at it.
Yeah, sure. But it is the Steven Spielberg thing where the female lead of the first movie in the franchise is really strong and empowering.
Yeah.
And then we just move on to
then,
just
Steven
the most
Spielberg,
annoying character.
And then Steven Spielberg goes through a messy divorce and is like, women are bitches. And it's like, okay, Steven, calm down. I don't know. That's just the energy that I get from some of that period in that man's career.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I was gonna say I was thinking of Jaws, because Jaws goes really stupid too.
Yeah.
But like all of the Spielberg movies that turn into franchises, Indiana Jones, this, and Jaws go stupid at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like Jaws 4 where the shark is psychic. Could we get a psychic Jurassic Park movie where the dinosaur like follows someone?
Yeah,
and has a psychic powers. I think that'd be cool.
It doesn't. The Raptors don't have psychic powers in this movie, but we're almost there, I think, with the Raptors in this movie, because it's literally like, you stole our babies, and now Mama Raptor and Daddy Raptor and their whole extended Raptor family are after you to get the eggs back in this movie. Which I think I have a question that I haven't come to an answer on yet. Is it stupid or kind of good that essentially this movie, the main plot of this movie, is essentially human mother and father looking for their lost child versus raptor mother and father looking for their stolen eggs?
I think it's kind of good, actually.
That's kind of what I was thinking too, but I was like, or is it stupid? I can't tell. And maybe it's both. Maybe it's both stupid and good.
Well, what I like about it is it distills the greed, the human greed, and human exploitation of science for their own like financial gains and stuff. It distills that theme from the other movies into just like a really, really quick and efficient subplot.
Right. Where it's just like, family.
Yeah.
We want our kid back. They want their kids back. And that's like the whole thing.
And it's all started because of, Billy wants to try to sell these eggs to fund the dig site.
To fund the dig site, which is, it's so funny that the thing in these movies is always like, scientific research is underfunded, ergo we must resort to like selling dinosaurs on the black market. Everybody gets out of the plane here. We learn that Téa Leoni and William H. Macy are the parents of that kid who we saw like go get lost on the island at the beginning. And this sets up the whole, and like I said, this happens at minute 22, which is perfect. It sets up the whole movie, which is basically like, the thing that we're doing is looking for this lost kid, and the situation that we're in is stranded on an island full of dinosaurs, right? Mm-hmm. So they're doing all of the like, oh, we're gonna set up a perimeter. We have guys with big guns and shit, and then pretty much immediately there's just like roaring from the forest.
Yeah, a couple of the mercs run out of the forest.
Yeah.
They all get back in the plane, and then Cooper, who was the guy with the glasses, like a really tough looking guy with glasses on the plane, as they're taking off. I feel so bad for this guy.
They leave Cooper
behind.
They get in the plane and they're like, start the plane. And one of them's like, what about Cooper? And somebody else is like, he can handle himself or whatever. And so they just abandon Cooper immediately.
and he runs out in the middle of the runway. And he's like, you see the desperation in his eyes.
There's like a close up of him. Yeah, please stop.
Please stop. And you think he's about to get chopped up by this plane.
Yes.
But then the Spinosaurus runs out from the trees, snatches him up as the plane is taking off, and then the plane like catches the back of the sail.
And like a bunch of blood hits the windshield. It's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot this movie goes kind of hard. This is like sort of, it's not like a hard PG-13. Like nothing in here is like pushing that PG-13 really, but it is like a pretty solid PG-13 in terms of like violence and overall like scariness.
Yeah,
you know?
there's a few moments in this movie that kind of make you go, ugh.
Yeah.
That kind of turn your stomach a little bit.
It like allows itself to be a little brutal for PG-13,
Yeah.
which I greatly appreciate.
I wish that translated into more people dying.
Yeah. Although we get 3 at least.
Yeah.
And we think Billy dies, but then he fucking shows up on the helicopter being like, I made it, here's your hat.
Yeah, but we really should be killing more folks in this movie.
Yeah, there weren't many more folks to kill. I guess William H. Macy could have died.
Yeah, I think one of the parents should have died. Billy definitely should have died.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so they Cooper has been iced by a Spinosaurus, and then because they like hit the Spinosaurus's fin, the plane then crashes into the jungle, and we get kind of a callback to the stuck in the car in a tree thing in the first movie, but they're in like the fuselage, is that what that's called? The cabin, whatever it is. Yeah, the thing of the plane, the big tube that the people sit in. They're in that. And the Spinosaurus comes back and it like knocks him out of the tree. And they're like all. This sequence is pretty good.
Yeah. It's kind of cool that they do basically like the big predator climax.
Yeah.
Which I mean, maybe not. I don't exactly remember when the T-Rex stuff happens in the other movies, but I think the T-Rex stuff in the other movies is like end of Act 2 stuff.
In the first one, they build up to the T-Rex for like almost an hour before you see it.
Yeah,
or maybe an hour.
And then in Lost World, like the big sequence in the middle of the movie, like the centerpiece of the movie, is the 2 T-Rexes and the RV.
Yeah,
and then of course we get the Godzilla ending with the T-Rex in San Francisco. But it's kind of cool that we just get it at the beginning of this movie.
Yeah. Yeah. And so like the Spinosaurus like attacks the plane while it's like stuck in the tree. And this is where Nash fucking got.
Yeah, the one of the mercs who's the pilot gets eaten. Just
we see like the Spinosaurus jaws chomp down on his leg.
Yeah.
He's screaming and he's like, it's pretty harrowing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, this is like brutal. It kind of reminds me, you mentioned Jaws before. It kind of reminds me of like towards the end of Jaws.
Oh, like Quint stuff?
Yeah. Where I was like, oh shit, this is like actually pretty horrifying. And yeah, so he gets eaten by the Spinosaurus. The plane falls out of the tree. The Spinosaurus is like trying to roll it to like get them out, and like then it tries crushing it, which is very funny. I just love it seeing it fuck with this thing to be like, there's food in there. How do I get it out?
I love the shot of it falling. Of the plane falling backwards out of the tree and crunching.
Yeah.
And they're all at the bottom of this plane. You feel that in your lower back.
I do think this movie is at its best when it's in these very like chaotic, frenetic dinosaur action sequences.
Oh yeah.
This being one of my favorite ones. I just think like this is when this movie really shines, and this is all like really fun. And a lot of the stuff that is being shown to you in the sequence, like the Spinosaurus like rolling the cabin of the plane back and forth, is practical. It's like puppet dinosaur hands and like a smaller like miniature version of the plane thing, and they're just shooting that for real. It's like not CGI, and it looks really good. Like it looks really solid.
And it's a lot of the sequence is the actors doing their own stunts.
Yeah.
Like they used very little stunt people for this particular scene.
Yeah. It's really fun.
Yeah, and it's that's kind of the thing with this movie for me is it's really stupid and the definition of a turn your brain off movie, but it's made with like craft and thought and intention and old school movie making techniques that we don't have anymore.
Yeah.
And that affords it just a little bit of charm to still make it, at least for me, enjoyable.
Yeah.
And more enjoyable than something else coming out these days. Even in the same franchise.
Yeah.
That is also stupid because it's just like, no, like they built a Spinosaurus animatronic for this stupid 90-minute monster movie that looks pretty freaking good.
It looks pretty good. So then they like run out of the plane, and I don't remember how the Spinosaurus, are they initially just running away from the Spinosaurus?
Yeah, they get away from a lot of dinosaurs in this movie with very little explanation.
By running away.
Just running long enough to outrun them.
Yeah.
And then they run right into the T-Rex.
Yes, and there's the great thing of like them like going through the trees, and they like move aside some foliage, and there's just like a T-Rex, again, great looking animatronic, eating with its like muzzle all bloody and shit, and it like looks up at them, and Alan does the thing, because everybody knows the first movie, the T-Rex can't see if you don't move. He's like, nobody move a muscle, and everybody runs away, which is like, it's a funny joke. It got a laugh out of me. And then he's like, oh shit, and he like runs too, and then we get a pretty decent looking CGI dino fight.
Yeah.
It looks okay.
It looks okay. I wish it was a little bit longer.
Yeah.
I remember a lot of fans being mad that they ice the T-Rex so quickly
and
other
switch over.
T-Rexes. I know.
It's not the only T-Rex.
I know, but it's the thing with these Jurassic Park movies. They ice the T-Rex so quickly and they switch to the Spinosaurus. So then it feels like in Jurassic World, the filmmakers' motto was, oh, the T-Rex is just now the hero of these movies. He just shows up like Godzilla when the heroes need him the most, and then he wanders back into the ocean. They treat the T-Rex with like kid gloves and a lot of nostalgia.
I really like.
I do kind of like that they just kill him and it's like, no, it's the Spinosaurus movie now.
I like that too. Like the last two were the T-Rex movie. Like I've seen the T-Rex movie, and I think that it's fun that this movie is just like, no, the T-Rex isn't the thing. The Spinosaurus the thing. Like it's Jurassic Park 3, motherfuck. There's a new dinosaur in town.
Yeah,
it's fun. Like I'm down for it.
Yeah,
and I think the dino fight's pretty good.
I think it's fun. I would just love a couple more minutes tacked onto it.
But I feel like leaving you wanting more rather than that Pirates of the Caribbean 3 fatigue thing.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Is the better option, right? Anyway, so they run away from the fucking Spinosaurus T-Rex fight. And then my favorite moment of editing in this movie happens here, David. This movie is it's not immaculately well made. But there is a world-class cut here because we transition from Spinosaurus roaring over dead T-Rex body, of which it's just snapped its neck, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like doing the majestic Spinosaurus roar. Cut to William H. Macy stumbling back after immediately being punched by Sam Neill. And the POV of the camera is you are Sam Neill and you have just punched William H. Macy. It's such a good edit where it's just like Spinosaurus roar, and then it's like you have just punched William H. Macy in the face. It's when I saw it last night, I was like, chef's kiss, beautiful moment of editing in this movie.
Your favorite moment of editing wasn't the kid at the end running over to watch Barney the dinosaur on TV and jumping up and down, immediately then cutting to a Spinosaurus roaring in a river trying to kill our protagonist.
That was a moment where, much like the raptor family versus human family, I was like, is this funny or does it suck? And I kind of was undecided.
I'm kind of undecided on that too, but we'll get there.
Anyway, so yes, Alan Grant has punched fucking Mr. Kirby in the face and is like, "You have some explaining to do, mister." And that's when Mr. Kirby is like, "Yeah, we're here looking for our son. We never wanted you to take us on a tour of the island." And Alan Grant very quickly puts together like, "You're also not a billionaire." And he's like, "No, yeah, I'm not. I run a fucking paint and tile store in Enid, Oklahoma, or whatever. That's in like a shopping center." And so he basically, the vibe that we get is that William H. Macy and Téa Leoni have like drained their entire life savings to hire the cheapest and worst mercs in the entire world and charter this flight to this island because they're so desperate to find their son. And like they have used all of the resources that they actually have to just get these three dudes, two of which who were immediately killed.
And Sam Neill does not give a fuck.
No,
Alan Grant is like,
well, we're on Dinosaur Island. Guess we walk around until we find a way out of here or get fucking eaten.
we're all gonna fucking die now because of you dumbasses.
He truly is like resigned to his own fate so quickly and is just like, I don't give a shit. Let's walk that way. It's so good.
Then they find the sail and Ben's camera. And then a rotting skeleton drops out of the sail and hits the camera and bounces back off the camera. Did this scare you as a kid?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
I was frightened by this scene as a kid. There's a couple scenes in this movie that scared me as a kid. Another one is like when they go into the lab later and they're looking in all the little like tubes full of embryos, and then one of them's a raptor, and then it like kind of jump scares. That one freaked me out. But yeah, this moment scared me as a kid.
This might be the scariest thing in the movie for me as a kid.
Yeah, I think it was for me too. There is like, I'm pretty sure I had nightmares about this now that I'm thinking back on it. I'm pretty sure a recurring nightmare of mine was the meaty skeleton from Jurassic Park 3 attacking me like it does to Téa Leoni. And it is funny because she gets like all wrapped up in like the netting and stuff. But the way they shoot this scene, it does seem like this skeleton is actively attacking Téa Leoni. It's very funny. And also, like, again, kind of brutal for a PG-13. I was like, okay, kind of hard. This is like Indiana Jones PG-13 territory, sort of, you know? Yeah, it's fun. A meaty skeleton attacks Téa Leoni, and she screams so much. Which, like, fair. I would also scream if a meaty skeleton attacked me while I was on a dinosaur island.
That's also the extent of her character in this movie is scream her son's name.
It's unfortunate.
Scream just a bunch, and then
horny for her ex-husband.
Divorce bicker with William H. Macy.
That's pretty much it. Yeah. Wish that she had more to do. But but the meaty skeleton attack is fun. So this is Ben. Ben did not make it. And they're basically like, well, Eric's meaty skeleton isn't here. Maybe he's out there somewhere. Which I think this is where we get the Sam Neill, like, these fucking idiots. Their son's dead as hell.
Yeah. This is where they run into the raptor nest with all of the eggs. And Billy emerges from the woods, like, stuffing something not at all suspicious into his pack. He's like, what's going on, guys?
Nothing.
And then they
don't look at my special bag though. If you happen to have a moment when you are in possession of my special bag, just give it back to me without looking in it.
Then they go to the raptor lab. I love the raptor lab.
It's a good set.
This lab set. I love the raptor sequence, but it's a really good set, and I like when this movie is like, hey, we're gonna take a few minutes to just slow down and do something atmospheric and cool and build up to the next action sequence, and then we'll move on. And that's what this scene is. And there's also a funny joke where William H. Macy asks people for change to get into the vending machine, and then Billy just kicks down the glass, and then soy boy beta cuck William H. Macy tries to kick in the glass of the vending machine but can't,
and hurts his leg, and then is limping through the rest of the scene, which I was like, great commitment from William H. Macy, and also hilarious that kicking that vending machine then has him limping for the next like 4 minutes. It's really good. Yeah, so then they like wander into the room that I was just talking about that scared me as a kid.
Yeah.
Where there's like the tubes full of like there's all like the incubating chambers with the hatched eggs, and then there's all these like tubes with like embryos in them.
Yeah.
And then like the last one in the row has like just like a full-grown raptor in it, and Taya Leoni's like staring at it, and then like the eye moves, and then this raptor's like does like a little jump scare where he's not in the tube, he's actually behind the tube and attacks him, which like kind of like fun way to kick off this sequence. Also, that raptor was just playing a little prank, I guess.
He was just doing a bit.
They talk a lot about the raptor intelligence.
Yeah,
in
this movie is the raptor movie because, well, a few things happened between the original Jurassic Park and this one, where we learned a little bit more about raptors and the fact that they may have feathers. So the animatronics in this movie have, and the CG models have like 3 or 4 feathers on their heads.
Some of them.
But
some of them are just still straight up lizards.
Yeah. And also we learned a little bit more about raptor intelligence, and it also came out that like theories had come out that maybe the T-Rex was a scavenger, so that's why we see the T-Rex scavenging, and the Carnosaur during the poop scene is just kind of like a scavenger too. But they really lean into the raptors being smart here, and it is silly and funny. However, it is still not as silly as Jurassic World saying, what if we could train them for the military?
Yeah.
Or what if Chris Pratt could train them as some sort of theme park show?
What if they were Chris Pratt's sons? Yeah, it is still silly in this movie. And like the raptor intelligence stuff gets the most silly, I think, at the end. But even in this scene, I'm like, so this raptor was just laying in wait, knowing that it would be mistaken for something just suspended in formaldehyde if it was hiding behind this tube. And then it just like waited for Taya Leoni to like look at it for enough time to have an effective jump scare. And then it was like, hello! Right? I was like, I'm not sure the logic of this makes sense, but also it's Jurassic Park 3 and I don't give a shit. Yeah, so then Raptor chases them through this facility. This bit here where they go into like these cages that I think are like containment cages for the dinosaurs in this facility. They like go in there to run away from it, and the Raptor like opens the door, and like the door swings all the way open, and I think it's Taya Leoni and William H. Macy are like stuck behind it. And the raptor then like puts together like, oh, if I can't like get around this, I have to go over it, and like starts to climb over it. Like really suspenseful and very well done.
Yeah,
I thought this whole bit was really cool.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's really well done, and it's really, again, it's really quick. We have a couple little beats of it, and then we're on to the next thing once they get out of the facility.
Yeah, they trap the raptor, and it does its little raptor noises.
Yeah.
And I love the moment of, like, admiration from Alan Grant, where he's like, oh my God, it's calling for help. And he, like, kind of can't look away, and Billy's like, come on!
Yeah.
It's kind of like a fun little moment. But yeah.
And then they get surrounded by the raptors. And then this is the best kill in this movie.
Oh yeah.
And this, again, like stomach churning stuff for me as a child.
Oh yeah.
Where Udusky gets the claw in the back, and we get like the close up of the curved raptor claw going into his back.
Yeah, and he like screams. It's really good.
And then I think everyone else has made it up like into the trees.
Yeah, they all climb the trees except for Alan, who gets separated from the group. And he has notably grabbed Billy's bag, so he has the bag with the raptor eggs at this point.
Oh, okay.
Because to get away from the raptors, they like, or is that later? No, I think it's here.
Yeah.
To get away from the raptors, they run into the herd of herbivores that start stampeding, and he grabs the bag.
Yeah, that's right.
And then like they climb into the trees and stuff, and then Alan gets separated from them, and he's not with the rest of the group. But Billy and the Kirby's go up in the tree, and Udesky gets clawed. And then they're watching from the trees. William H. Macy and Billy and Taya Leoni, and Udesky looks dead down there. And then he starts moving, and Taya Leoni's like, oh no, he's still alive, we have to go help him, and like goes to like climb down and like falls partway out of the tree, and these raptors just start snapping at her because they set a trap, which is very fun.
Yeah. And then when they realize that the trap doesn't work, they just snap
They
his
just
neck.
snap his neck, which is like cold as hell. It's also the second neck snap in this movie
Yeah.
because that's how the Spinosaurus kills the T-Rex.
Kills the T-Rex,
too.
yeah.
And then Alan Grant gets surrounded by velociraptors
Mhm.
and is saved by smoke grenades. And this kid, who is obviously the missing kid, Eric, in like full, like he looks like he has been fighting in the jungles of Vietnam. Like he's in full like gorilla gear, right? He's got like goggles and he's like camouflaged himself with foliage and shit. Like grabs Alan Grant and drags him into this bunker. And
It's a water truck.
Oh,
It's
a
like
water
the
truck.
tank of a water truck,
You're right.
which I have to imagine is probably not I mean, it's probably not a great place for shelter because I imagine it gets really fucking hot in there
Yeah,
with that
probably.
weather.
Yeah, probably. I don't know what time of year it is in Costa Rica when this movie takes place.
Yeah.
Maybe it's more mild, but I don't know. I would imagine it gets pretty hot in there.
Yeah. So Eric's been living in this water truck for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
There's the one-off joke of he has T-Rex pee, and Sam Neill asks how he got it, and he says, "You don't want to know." Objection. I would like to know.
I would like to know.
I would like to see Eric getting T-Rex pee, a Jurassic Park story.
Just holding this fucking beaker under a T-Rex's cloaca. Being like, come on.
I just want to give me a 90-minute spin-off movie about Eric getting T-Rex pee. It's like week 6 of him being trapped on this island.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, he's decided he's going to get some T-Rex piss.
Yeah, we do learn that he's been on this island for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Which it's like, I know the Kirbys had to like get all their money together to like hire these mercenaries and charter this flight and shit. Seems like they could have done it faster. 8 weeks seems like that's 2 months. It just seems like a really long time to like fly to this dinosaur island to find your missing child. I know that they had to like buy incendiary ammo and test it blowing up planes and shit first, but I don't know. I was just like, man, 8 weeks.
I also don't know if I buy the fact that this kid has been able to survive for this long.
Yeah.
Which is funny because Aliens is the same thing, right? Where Newt is like,
Yeah.
Newt's even younger than Eric.
And those are xenomorphs,
Those
which
are
I would
xenomorphs.
argue are worse than dinosaurs to have to survive against. Yeah.
But I don't have that problem with Aliens. Maybe it's because like the explanation they have is like she's small and she can use the vents,
right.
and she's mostly hiding out in the vents. Where it seems like Eric has actually been like spending time on this island, looking around for resources and moving around, and trying to get a signal.
They sort of kind of half explain it by being like, oh, he is like a paleontology nerd kid who has read like Alan Grant and Ian Malcolm's books and is like very educated about dinosaurs. So that's like sort of the explanation the movie gives you is it's like he's equipped to survive on this island because he like knows about dinosaurs. And so probably knows like the best time of day to go out and the types of places where only herbivores would be or whatever, you know? But like they don't do a lot of legwork because the movie's stupid and it doesn't matter.
Yeah. We're noted detractors of precocious children in movies.
Yes, we are.
How do you feel about Eric?
David, I might drop a bomb on you here. I'm not sure if you're going to agree with this or not. I kind of think Eric rocks. I am sort of weirdly ardently pro Eric. For whatever reason, this kid in this movie really fucking works for me. I was like, oh, he has like kind of a weathered, like hardened thing when he's talking to Alan Grant in the water truck for the first time. I think I think the kid actor is doing a great job in this movie.
I agree. I think the kid's doing a really good job with this performance.
I think the character is at its worst when they give him kid lines of dialogue like the "you don't want to know" about the T-Rex P. I think that's when the character's at his worst. When he's just talking like an adult, I'm like, oh, this kind of works for me. Like, and his delivery of the lines is usually pretty mature and pretty understated. Like even when he's talking about Alan Grant and Ian Malcolm's books, and he's like, Alan is like, did you read Malcolm's book too? And he's like, yeah, I didn't like it. I thought it was kind of preachy, right? I'm like, there's a way he could have delivered that line that would have sounded like an annoying, precocious child, and instead he just kind of delivered it like blasé and straight. And I was like, oh, that kind of that actually kind of worked for me. Like, I kind of like this kid. How do you feel about him?
I think the performance is great. I think I think the performance is so good that I was a big Eric fan for a while too, and I think this was the first watch where I had really anything negative to say about him.
Yeah.
And I felt like there were too many moments in the writing where he fell back into the annoying, precocious child in terms of writing and the dialogue and stuff like that, to the point where when we got to the pteranodon scene, I was like, I kind of want these baby pteranodons to eat this kid. But that's the first time I felt that way.
Yeah.
So I think I'm more pro Eric than I am most precocious children characters.
You know what? I like him a hell of a lot better than I like fucking Edward Furlong in Terminator 2. A character of a similar age. Because he's supposed to be like a young teen.
Yeah.
Right? He's supposed to be like probably 13 or 14, I think is what this character's supposed to, about where this character's supposed to be. And man, fucking Terminator 2, masterpiece, amazing movie. Edward Furlong is so fucking annoying in that movie.
Life finds a way. Maybe we should have put the kid in this movie in T2, and then Edward Furlong could be in Jurassic Park 3.
Only if he actually gets eaten by the baby pteranodon.
I feel bad for Edward Furlong. That kid's had a rough life.
That's true. That's true.
He's that kid. He's an adult now. He's
Yes,
older than I am.
He's older than us. Yeah.
Actually, my most recent watch of Terminator 2, I was like, I don't hate Edward Furlong.
Yeah.
It's the first time I've been like, you know what? That kid's okay.
Maybe I gotta rewatch it because it's been a few years for me, and maybe I'll come around on Furlong.
But I find that interesting that I was more pro Furlong than I was pro Eric. I don't remember the actor's name in this movie, because it normally has been the opposite in the past.
Anyway, I like Eric. I think this kid actually kind of rocks. And also, we were talking about moments at which this movie could diverge and just become a totally different movie. This scene where he's in the water tanker talking to Alan Grant, and he looks like this like weathered guerrilla warrior child who has survived like all of this like dinosaur mayhem. I was thinking about it, and I was like, you know what would be a fun Jurassic Park movie? If it was basically the same setup where it's like person gets stranded on abandoned Isla Sorna or Isla Nublar or whatever, and it's just like one human on an island full of dinosaurs, but nobody comes to rescue them, and like years pass and they become like, it's like Robin Williams' character in Jumanji where he's like in the jungle for 30 years or whatever.
That was one of the original scripts, was Alan Grant living on one of the islands like Robinson Crusoe, and they discover him because, you know, he just has to study dinosaurs and he's like gone a little crazy. And then I think another version of the script was like, at the end, you know, they ditched that plot line. He goes on the adventure, and then at the end, he's like, "No, I want to stay with the dinosaurs."
See, I kind of want Castaway, but the island is full of dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of want the version of this movie where Eric gets lost on the island and then lives to adulthood there and becomes the Colonel Kurtz of Jurassic Park. Right? Where he's like, I'm the emperor of the dinosaurs. This dinosaur's my wife. I am God. You know? Like, I kind of want that movie. He's like worshiping Alan Grant's books as religious texts, reading aloud from them to the dinosaurs.
I drink T-Rex pee from the skulls of my enemies.
Just like riding around on the back of the Spinosaurus. This is my domain.
The holy water truck.
I don't know. I just kind of want that movie. But instead, Alan Grant basically is like, hey, your parents are here. They kidnapped me to take me to this island to look for you. So Eric and Alan leave the water tanker truck, go start looking for William H. Macy and Taya Leoni. Taya Leoni and William H. Macy and Billy, who's, I'm just using his character name because I know you know the actor's name, but I don't.
Yeah.
They all basically start looking for Alan, right? So they're both groups are looking for each other. They find each other pretty quick.
They do. So there's a lot of shouting people's names in this movie, and
Yeah.
it's funny because there have been multiple references so far of like Dr. Grant said it's not good to do that
Yeah.
when like Taya Leoni's shouting Eric's name. But so there's a scene here where Billy's shouting Alan's name.
Yes.
And I'm like, dude, we've established that this is a bad idea.
Yes.
So
And,
why
like,
are you doing this?
You're the student of the guy who is the dinosaur expert who gave you this advice. But he really wants that bag of velociraptor eggs back too. So
I guess. Billy doesn't make any good decisions in this
no,
movie.
he's dumb and bad.
Yeah. They hear the ringtone. That's
Yes.
how they find each other. They hear the ringtone of the satellite phone, and William H. Macy and his group hear it too. So they run through the woods and meet each other. I like the reveal of the fact that they're on opposite sides of the fence.
Yeah.
I think that's really well done. And they're like, if you don't have the phone and we don't have the phone,
Who
at
has
least
the phone?
And they turn around and the Spinosaurus is just hanging out. It's going like, hello.
Oh my god.
So the Spinosaurus, we haven't gotten to this yet, because you're talking about how like the Raptors are kind of doing a weird thing with like the Raptors are playing a bit. The Spinosaurus is like fucking Batman in this movie.
It's first of all, yes. How did this enormous fucking dinosaur just appear on the tree line 100 feet away from these people without them fucking noticing that a giant monster was? You know the thing that we referenced in the studio logos at the top of this from the first movie, where when the T-Rex walks, it shakes the ground and the water ripples. It's like, apparently the Spinosaurus doesn't do that. He has stealth mode. He's just walking he's just creeping up on him. I'm gonna get their ass so good.
Later in the movie, he's waiting at the bottom of a river like a Navy SEAL or something, and then he sneaks out.
Surprise! It's the Spinosaurus again.
Spinosaurus going dark.
It's the shot of this fucking CGI Spinosaurus with the cell phone ringing in his tummy is so fucking funny. I was like losing my shit, and I remembered this from previous watches.
Yes,
but just seeing it again, I was just like, holy shit, that is so funny. Because he's just like staring at them menacingly, and his tummy's just like dee 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 dee. It rocks. And so yeah, then the Spinosaurus fucking charges at him, and they find a hole in the fence, and everyone gets through, and they get away from the Spinosaurus for a second. But it's very funny because they like go through the hole in the fence, and they're like, "Phew, good thing we all got on the other side of the fence." And the Spinosaurus just rams through the fence, and they're all like, "Oh fuck!" And then they run into this like bunker building, which the Spinosaurus can't get into. So it's like it's again like 30 seconds of dinosaur action, and then just like onto another break.
Yeah, like a quick little dialogue scene before we get to the next one. It's really, in my review I said the ideal way to watch this movie is in like 15-minute chunks interrupted by commercial breaks on TNT on like Thanksgiving Day at your in-laws' house after everyone's drunk and tired from eating, because this movie is just like a little bit of action sequence, a little bit of dialogue, little action sequence, little dialogue.
Yeah.
And it's just that. It's like just an and then plot. And then they go here, and then the Spinosaurus finds them, and then they go here and they talk, and then the Raptors find them.
In a weird way, it is sort of like this movie was written by a 9-year-old who loves dinosaurs, because it is that type of and then plot. You could imagine like a 9-year-old being like, and then they went to and then the Spinosaurus chased them, and then they went into a building and the Spinosaurus couldn't get to them, and then they went into a birdcage full of pterodactyls. Right? It's just like, yeah, this is sort of like elementary school brain plot for this movie. And in the dialogue scene here, the main thing that happens is Alan opens Billy's bag, because Billy's being like, "Give me the fucking bag back. Give me the fucking bag." And he's like, "What's in this bag?" And it's velociraptor eggs. And he's like, "You stupid bitch." And he like dresses Billy down deservedly. And then he like takes it back later, and I'm like, no, you were correct.
No. When you said he's no better than the people who built this place, you're right.
Yeah, you're spot on.
Like, you're right.
You don't need to eat those words.
I know it's the the one mandated one line of dialogue every 30 pages to comment on the greed of mankind, to keep reminding people that this is still a Jurassic Park movie. I know it's that, but you were right, dude.
Yes.
Like, this was the correct take.
Yeah. So he's all pissed off at Billy, and he's like gonna toss the raptor eggs out the window, and then he's like, no, we better hang on to them because those velociraptors are after us because they want these eggs back. And if they find us and we don't have them, then our bargaining chip is gone to bargain with these lizards.
I could have done with maybe 15 more minutes of this movie catching up with the raptors looking for these eggs.
If we had just cut to, it would have been
just subtitled raptor dialogue between mom and dad.
Holy shit. I think you just figured out how to make this movie 4 stars, which is just cut to the raptors more frequently and subtitle their dialogue. Raptor mom and raptor dad being like, the humans took our eggs. Yeah. I would.
What if we just ask for them back? You haven't dealt with them before, Sheila. I know what humans are like.
I remember. Yeah. Man. That would be so fucking funny. But instead of that, what happens is they go into...
they hire a raptor detective to get the kids back.
That's what those other raptors are.
Yeah.
Because there's the mama raptor and the dada raptor, who we see later. But like the other raptors with them, that's their Merc squad that they hired. And they have a raptor paint and tile business. They tricked these other raptors into coming over to this side of the island to deal with these people. Yeah.
I think we're right. I think we're on the right track, though.
Yeah,
I think that's what this movie needs.
But what this movie gets next is they cross this ominous-looking bridge into some fog. Right, because they're still just trying to make it to the coast of the island because that's pretty much where they think their best bet of being rescued will be, right? So they're like making their way towards the coast. They find this bridge, cross it kind of one at a time, and this is one of my favorite moments of the movie. Like the whole pterodactyl sequence that's about to happen is good. This moment specifically where like they're crossing the bridge through the fog one by one because the bridge is kind of rickety and they can't like put multiple people's weight on it. It's pretty tense. And then the way that the reveal happens where like Eric goes through going through the foggy bridge, right? And Alan is looking up and the fog is kind of clearing and he sees that there's this like huge metal enclosure around them. And he's like, oh my God, it's a bird cage. And right after he says that, the fucking pterodactyl walks, not flies, which is way creepier. It's kind of eerie and creepy how this thing walks. It just walks out of the fog in front of Eric on the bridge. And I was like, last night I was kind of like, ooh, like that's creepy.
Yeah,
like,
I think
like it.
I think the walk is good. And I also like that the pterodactyls haven't really been in these movies that much. So we as an audience don't have like a perspective on them as like, are they portrayed more as villains like the T-Rexes and the Raptors and stuff like that. And also they're not particularly threatening looking. So when you see this thing wander through the mist, you kind of don't know what to make of it at first. But then it's also like huge and the walk is a little weird and then it starts feeling more sinister. The thing that undercuts this moment for me is Eric going, Mom?
Yeah.
I'm like, Eric, your mother is not 10 feet tall with wings.
That's a good point. I know I was praising Eric, but like I said, the actor's performance is good and the character is at his best when he's like acting more grown up. The more childish moments, I agree, like that are like not as good.
And parts of the sequence with like Eric being snatched up by the pteranodons and Billy using he's repaired the sail and has now like rigged it up so he can deploy it like a parachute.
Yes, he's making his heroic sacrifice because Alan Grant said 2 mean things to him. So he's like, I'm gonna fucking die to save this child.
I'm gonna redeem myself, even though I'm the reason that everything has gone wrong in this entire movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I don't love that so much, but this moment is really good. Even other moments of this sequence when they're being chased through the walkways by the pteranodon that's walking, and then I think that's all really cool.
Yeah, and a lot of the close-ups here again are Stan Winston animatronics and puppets and stuff. They all look really good. I like the pterodactyl design. I think they're really cool. And the baby pterodactyls,
Yeah.
are pretty fucking cute. I was looking at these things and I was like, I kind of want one. They're adorable, and in some of the shots they're animatronics too. And when they're when it's like a Stan Winston animatronic baby pterodactyl, it was kind of giving me like Mogwai vibes. Like they don't look anything like Mogwai, but the same sort of thing where it's like it's a little repulsive and uncanny, but also it's quite adorable. And I was just like, oh, let them have their meal.
Yeah. Let them eat this kid.
Let them eat. They're just cute little guys.
I like when Billy's paraglider, parasail, whatever, gets snagged on a cliff's edge, and he falls into the water below. And then the Tyrannosaurons attack him and start pecking him, and he drifts off downriver. And then in the foreground of the frame, there's a pteranodon that watches him and then looks at the camera, and he's like, "You're next, motherfucker."
Yeah, he literally, and the way that is like framed within the scene is he is looking back at like Alan, who is like going to save Billy, and I love that this pterodactyl's like, "You didn't see nothing." So then they book it out of the pterodactyl enclosure. Alan has to like swim under the fucking grating, and I think maybe Mr. Kirby's with him or something, and then Taya Leoni and maybe the kid, I don't remember who's with who, but they like, some of them run out through the sky bridge, some of them swim underneath, and they all get to safety. And then this is so there are two moments in this movie. We already passed one of them. This is the other one where we have just found out that someone has died horrifically, and in the little obligatory dialogue we're releasing the tension between monster scenes conversation that immediately follows it, somebody's like, "Hey, sorry about that person who died," and the other person is kind of not fazed by it. The first time it happens is when they find the meaty skeleton, and William H. Macy like runs up behind Taya Leoni after she freaks out and is like, "I'm so sorry about Ben," and she's like, "Nah, it's not Ben, I'm just upset about Eric." And I was like, okay, fuck Ben, I guess. But then
Ben only, spent his fortune or killed a few guys because he's a gangster to take your son on this lavish, insane vacation.
Ben, presumably someone who you were so close with that you felt okay sending your son on a vacation with only him and not you present.
A vacation to the dinosaur island again.
It's like clearly this was a very close, a very trusted person. Again, it's kind of not defined what the relationship is. I was sort of reading Mom's New Boyfriend from it. Who knows? But it's like, clearly this was someone you cared about deeply. Otherwise, you wouldn't have allowed him to take your son on a vacation. And they're just like, "No, yeah, it's okay. I'm just worried about our son." And it's like, all right. This is the other time that happens, which is like after the whole pterodactyl thing. They're like going down this like boat on this like river boat. And and Eric and Alan are having a moment. And Eric's like, "I'm so sorry about Billy." And Alan's sort of like, "Yeah, the last thing I said to him, that he's no better than the people who built this place. I didn't really mean it. Anyway." It's just like, all right, well, I guess he didn't really give that much of a shit about Billy. Which, to be fair, as the viewer, I don't either.
Well, and Grant has the line of like, there are some kids who grow up wanting to be astronomers and some kids who want to grow up being astronauts. And Billy wanted to be an astronaut. And then we have to be nostalgic and feel, warm and fuzzy about dinosaurs.
Yes.
So we get a really, really bad CGI dinosaur to look at the screen and say hi.
Yes. Although I do like some of the wide shots. I agree the super close-up on the CGI dinosaur is bad. Some of the wide shots of all the herbivores grazing, I'm like, CGI looks pretty good there. Yeah. And ankylosaurs, bonus point from me.
Yeah. And then Billy's like, you know what, Dr. Grant? Or not Billy, fucking Eric. Eric was like, you know what, Dr. Grant? Billy was right. And you're like, are you sure?
Are you sure
Are
about
you
that?
sure? You spent this whole movie running from dinosaurs. And you've just run into the first dinosaurs in this movie that aren't trying to eat you.
Yeah.
You sure?
Also, one presumes that in 8 weeks on this island, he's
Wow.
seen plenty of herbivores.
Yeah.
You know, and he seems so awestruck. And I'm like, I feel like you've seen more dinosaurs than any of the rest of the people here combined. Alan Grant was only on Jurassic Park for like 48 hours.
Billy, you know, Billy lied to his employer to get him to come to this island, or pressured him to come to this island, and stole raptor eggs and led to them being chased by velociraptors. Then, tried to redeem himself and ended up getting presumably pecked to death by these pterodactyls. But yeah, Billy was right.
Yeah, don't really know what the movie's trying to say, but also the movie's probably not trying to say anything.
No, it's not.
Anyway, and throughout, basically, ever since Eric has come back, throughout there's been little moments of Taya Leoni and William H. Macy kind of repairing their relationship a little bit. We get one of those on the boat here too. And then it's nighttime on the boat. They roll up on some fucking Spinosaurus dung that's ringing.
Yeah, because they hear the satellite phone, so they're looking through the dinosaur's poop. The dinosaur poop. I like the gags of him like pulling out a femur and pulling out someone's glasses.
Yeah, it's the glasses that Cooper was wearing.
Oh, it's Cooper's glasses.
It's Cooper's
okay.
sunglasses.
Because there's also a human skull.
Yes.
In the
pterodactyl nest.
The pterodactyl nest.
Yeah.
So at some point there was another Jurassic Park movie that occurred where someone wandered into this pterodactyl nest.
I assume that was just some of the InGen guys, because it seems like the InGen compound was like attacked, like it's all trashed, right? So I'm like, one assumes that one of those InGen guys' skull just ended up in the pterodactyl nest, or maybe it was just a tourist. Who knows? So they're digging through Spinosaurus shit to try and find the satellite phone so they can call for help. And eventually they find it.
Yeah.
And William H. Macy is basically like, there's juice for one call. And then they're like on the river.
And the goofy looking carnosaur comes up.
Sorry, I'm glad you stopped for this because it's important.
It looks terrible.
Yes.
And he makes a kind of look at the camera.
After sniffing the poopy,
Uh-huh.
right? He comes through the woods. And they all freeze and just stare at this CGI dinosaur. And he stares back at them. And then his nostrils dilate as he's sniffing the Spinosaurus poopy. And then, as if he's saying, P.U., he fucking turns around and leaves. And I was like, what is this Looney Tunes ass gag?
He's got like big puppy dog eyes
It's
too.
really silly.
He looks insane.
It's really silly. And then we're on the river and it's raining. And they're gonna make their one phone call.
Mm-hmm.
So Alan Grant calls Dr. Sattler, right? Ellie Sattler, Laura Dern. And her fucking 3-year-old child picks up the phone. Which it's like, what a fucking nightmare. You're on Monster Island trying to call the one person that you trust to like understand the situation and be able to do something about it. And a fucking toddler answers the phone being like, hello, it's the dinosaur man. It's like, oh my God.
This is effectively the climax of the film.
Yes.
They're trying to get through to Ellie while the Spinosaurus, again,
as you previously mentioned,
emerges from the river, like sail up like Jaws, first of all, and then like a fucking Navy SEAL.
Surprise, motherfucker! It's me, the Spinosaurus, here for the Act 3 showdown.
I'm back, you sons of bitches.
I read the screenplay and knew it was time to show up. Why the fuck is he there? Anyway, it doesn't matter.
I don't know. He just really has it out for these people.
I guess so. So the Spinosaurus is attacking. He's trying to fucking talk to Ellie on the phone. The kid's watching.
We're cutting back and forth between the Spinosaurus attacking the boat and like the phone sliding around the deck and the character sliding around the deck of the boat, and there's like a cage on the boat too that they get stuck in with this fucking stupid ass kid farting around his fucking house, watching Barney.
Yeah. And again, does it suck, or is it kind of funny that we're contrasting dinosaur mayhem with Barney? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't
because it makes, if this is the climax, it definitely lessens the impact of it.
Yeah.
And
it sort of deflates it.
I do kind of like that this movie has the fourth act, which is catching up with the raptors.
Yeah.
And I like that it ends on a much smaller note than maybe we would have expected.
Yeah.
But it is just like really, really intense music, screaming, rain, the roars of the dinosaurs, this fucking kid bouncing around.
Everybody!
Yeah.
It's very silly. Eventually Ellie does pick up the phone like, as the ship is sinking. And Alan manages to say, "Site B, the river." And she hears dinosaur roaring. So, like, Ellie puts it together really quick. She's like, oh, fuck. And then, they all kind of get free of the sinking boat and get up to the surface. William H. Macy decides to, complete his hero arc and stop being a beta cuck loser. Climbs this, piece of, construction equipment and, draws the Spinosaurus's attention. Alan dives for a fucking flare gun, and the boat, when it was sinking, released a bunch of gasoline onto the water. So Alan Grant fucking shoots a flare at this dinosaur and fucking lights it on fire, which is really cool.
Yeah, he basically, smile, you son of a bitch. He basically does the ending to Jaws, but with the flare gun.
Yes. Also, the Spinosaurus here, this is a nighttime sequence.
Yeah.
The CGI on the Spinosaurus in this nighttime sequence, I think, is the best CGI of the movie.
And I think
it looks really good here.
And the animatronic puppet looks really good here, too.
This is easily the best the Spinosaurus looks in the whole movie, which is great because it's the climax for the monster, right?
And it is basically doing what the first one did, where shoot it at night and in the rain.
Yeah.
But I think this makes up for some of the weaker moments,
the jankier stuff,
earlier in the movie.
So the Spinosaurus doesn't even get killed by this; it just runs away.
It just runs off,
which I like. I like that they don't defeat it. It's just like, this isn't worth it. I'm gonna go find an easier meal.
I live to fight another day. This movie's kind of like it's kind of like a Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah,
it's like 3 or 4 episodes of a Saturday morning cartoon, and every at some point they run into the Spinosaurus, and then the Spinosaurus gets away and waggles its fist at the camera and says, "I'll see you next week."
Right. I'll get you yet. And then there's a brief moment here where, in all the chaos, they think maybe William H. Macy died. But it's immediately now he's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then we basically cut to next morning, and they're walking towards the coast and get surrounded by the raptors.
I really like how they do it, because they hear water and they think it's the coast, and they start running. And I don't even know if there's music playing or if they have triumphant music playing, but then the raptors immediately come out of the woods and converge on them.
Yeah,
it's really cool how they're you forgot about us.
Yes, and this is raptor mama versus human mama showdown, which this moment is quite silly because the raptors are showcasing a frankly absurd level of intelligence here, and also I don't hate it. It's stupid, but the movie's stupid, and I like that the movie's stupid, and I like that Mama Raptor is face to face with Taya Leoni, being woman to woman, give me back my babies. That's the energy that we have going on here.
What sells it is the animatronics, I think.
Yeah,
the animatronics look so good, and they're so well articulated that the raptors sticking their heads that close to the actors, and there's jets in the noses that blow air on the actual
God bless
actors.
You, Stan Winston.
And even that moment when William H. Macy is get behind me, and then we cut really quickly to the raptor opening its jaws and roaring at him and hissing at him almost. It works really well, and I don't think about this moment as silly.
Yeah,
I think the movie is, it does treat the raptors a little silly, but it's built up their intelligence to the point where I can buy this ending.
Yeah. I Yes, in the world of the movie, it
Yeah.
works. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think that this is the best moment that Téa Leoni gets in the entire movie
Mhm.
is when she like the raptor wants the eggs from her because it's like it seems that this is like an alpha female situation, and so she's identified Téa Leoni as like her equal. And so she's like, "Give me the eggs." And like it's a brief moment from her, but I do appreciate like that she gets that. Also, this is the closest that this movie comes to passing the Bechdel test. Is Téa Leoni interacting with this raptor animatronic? But she slides over the eggs. And then Alan Grant plays the Velociraptor 3D printed whistle.
Yeah.
And I like that at first it offends them. Like he makes a sound with it and they all start getting mad. And he's like, "Oh shit, I said a raptor slur. Hold on. Let me make a different noise." And then he like makes a different noise that like placates them or whatever. And they all run off and like Mama Raptor and Daddy Raptor grab the eggs in their mouths really gently and run off.
Yeah, I like that in detail.
Yeah.
They very gingerly pick up the eggs and run off.
Yes. And then they go to the coast.
The fucking army shows up.
And a bunch of fucking submersible tanks roll up onto the fucking shore, and there's helicopters and shit. And the worst moment of Eric dialogue for me is this line delivery, because it just does sound so precocious kid, and it's the writing, not the actor. But he's like, "Well, you have to thank her now. She sent the Navy and the Marines." And I was like, all right, sure. But yeah, Ellie Sattler got the memo and was like, "Hey, husband who works in the State Department, you remember that guy, Alan Grant, who is holding a candle for me and like wants to fuck me super bad? He's stranded on Dinosaur Island. Do you think you have any like connections at the Pentagon where you could like get someone on this?"
Remember that 5-minute scene we were in at the beginning of the movie just to earn a paycheck that easily could have been cut out? Yeah, well, now it's incredibly relevant to the third act.
It's also so funny that they drop specifically that he works at the State Department to make this make sense. Because it's like if it was just Ellie Sattler, paleontologist, she wouldn't be able to do shit.
Yeah. Chekhov's gun.
Yes, Chekhov's State Department. And like then they get on a military helicopter.
Yeah, Billy's alive. Fuck off. Fuck off.
Yeah. And then they are helicoptering away from the island, much like the end of the first one. But this time, instead of seeing birds out the window like in Jurassic Park 1, they see pterodactyls out the window because they left the door to the pterodactyl cage open when they ran out of it.
And now it's like, oh yes, those horrific pterodactyls that we all will have lasting trauma from.
These
Look at how beautiful they are.
Genetic monstrosities. Wow.
Maybe they're flying off to find new nesting grounds.
Yep.
Surely that won't lead to any
I do sort of like
problems in the future.
It might be the final line. I think it is the final line of the movie. Is Téa Leoni has a joke about that, which I do think is actually pretty funny, where she's like, "I dare them to nest in Enid, Oklahoma." And I was like, all right, that one kind of worked for me.
Yeah.
And then we're in and out. Like, that's it.
Yeah. And I think that ending was from the first book.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And they wanted to adapt it for the first movie, but they didn't quite have the they couldn't figure out how to do the pterodactyls or the pteranodons or whatever.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Justus.
Yes,
that's
David.
Jurassic Park 3.
That's Jurassic Park.
I'm instituting a new rule.
From 2001, by the way.
2001.
Yes.
Directed by Joe Johnston.
This movie came out, yeah.
Before or after The Towers? I don't know.
Before, I think it was a summer movie, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The last time we were all happy in 2001.
Yeah.
I'm instituting a new rule.
Uh-huh.
We're alternating each week.
Okay.
So, Justus, do you have something you want to ask me?
Yes, David. Is Jurassic Park 3 the greatest movie ever made?
Justus, I have a soft spot in my heart for this movie. I always have, even when I thought it was the worst Jurassic Park movie. Of course, with the Jurassic World trilogy, we know that to not be the case. And coming back to this, it's kind of a breath of fresh air compared to those new ones. It's also stupid and bad.
Yeah.
But by that same token, it's also like a big budget sci-fi channel movie.
Uh-huh.
Like it hits that so bad it's good, that cheesy B-movie schlock that the Asylum movies, the Sci-Fi Channel original movies are going for, and that they often fail at.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of fun to see a Jurassic Park movie embrace that with the type of budget that these movies have.
Yeah.
and mostly succeed at creating a fun, entertaining movie. That all being said, no, it's Jurassic Park 3. It's not the greatest movie ever made. Are you fucking kidding?
Yeah.
It's fun. It's also stupid as hell and dumb. But I appreciate, like, we're in and out of this thing in a breezy 92 minutes. Sam Neill's giving this movie like way more than he has any right to.
Yeah.
William H. Macy's fun. Billy sucks. I have mixed feelings on Eric. But we get to have some fun deaths with the Mercs. And I think the Spinosaurus is fun, and the raptors are fun, and the Pteranodon cage is fun. So yeah, perfect movie to watch on cable. Perfect movie to put on when you're drunk. Perfect movie to put on when you're hungover. But not the greatest movie ever made.
Yeah.
Justus.
Yes.
Is Jurassic Park 3 the greatest movie ever made?
David. Whoa, you weren't done. David. Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree with everything you said. This movie is, like, innocently and well-meaningly stupid in a very warm and comforting way to me, where I'm like, oh, I love you, stupid movie. You make me feel so seen, stupid little movie. But at the same time, it is also not great. There's a lot in this movie that doesn't work. Some of the CGI looks janky, although, like I said, I think at its worst it looks fine. Some of the super flat, one-dimensional character decisions and very predictable plot beats and stuff here. Also, as previously mentioned, the rampant misogyny don't really work very well for me. This thing is paper thin. There's no substance to this thing. I don't need there to be, but also, it's not the greatest movie ever made. It's fun to watch. It was fun for me to revisit. I do weirdly think this is maybe my second favorite Jurassic Park movie, but it's not the greatest movie.
Yeah, I almost want to call it underrated.
Yeah.
Because this was the
this was the one that killed the franchise.
This was rock bottom.
Yeah.
For a lot of people for a long time. And I think there's enough charm when it comes to the effects, both digital and practical, and just the pacing of the storytelling, and really, really thin characters that are very easy to understand. I think it's worth revisiting.
Yeah, it's fun.
After the CGI fuckfests of Jurassic World movies.
It's a fun, dumb little movie, and it doesn't take up too much of your time.
Yeah.
Which I all greatly appreciate and enjoy about this film, but I can't. I'm still not saying it's the greatest movie ever made.
Yeah.
David, what are we talking about next week on the show?
I picked a movie that is going to be really hard for us to talk about.
Yeah, fun.
Because we just do that sometimes. And it's one that I've been wanting to revisit. It is one of the first R-rated movies that my father showed to me when I was young. And one of the first movies to really traumatize me as a child.
Oh.
That is Alan Parker's 1982 feature-length theatrical experimental music video that covers the entirety of Pink Floyd's concept album The Wall, titled Pink Floyd The Wall.
Yeah. I've never seen this movie. This will be my first time with Pink Floyd The Wall.
Yes. I have a lot of history with this movie. I have a lot of history with this band and this album in particular, which we'll get into next week.
Yeah.
But I wanted to throw in something new and weird and random and totally different than Jurassic Park 3.
This is going to be a huge vibe shift from Jurassic Park 3. So join us next week as we talk about Pink Floyd The Wall, the motion picture.
Yes. In the meantime, spread the word about the show. Tell your friends, and tweet to do the tweeting and the Instagramming. We're on YouTube now, I guess.
Yeah, they had a thing where you could just upload your podcast on YouTube via RSS feed.
Yeah.
We have 4 followers, and some people have been commenting.
Yeah,
So
we've had a couple comments.
if you prefer your mindless entertainment on YouTube rather than in a podcast app, you can listen to our episodes on YouTube.
Yeah.
There's no video because there's nothing worth looking at here.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll listen to the episode on YouTube.
Leave us a comment in the comments.
Yes,
and,
subscribe and smash that like button.
Argue with the dumb fucks on YouTube.
Yeah.
YouTube comment sections are maybe the worst comment sections of any social media app.
That's
I think.
probably, I mean, Twitter is really bad sometimes, but I think YouTube is consistently worse.
It's like on the level of like Facebook.
I would say the lowest depths of Twitter are worse than the lowest depths of YouTube, but the median of YouTube is worse than the median of Twitter.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's the show. We love you, and be good to each other and all that shit.
Yes.
See you next week for The Wall. In the meantime,
later, dipshits! We hope you enjoyed this episode of The Greatest Movie Ever Made. Please remember to leave us a rating and a review, and to subscribe to the show wherever you listen. We appreciate you supporting the show and spreading the word. Tell your friends to listen, tell your enemies to listen, tell your mom to listen. If your neighbor has an unsecured Bluetooth speaker, connect to it and play an episode. You can follow us on social media at TGMEM_podcast. And if you've got a movie that you want us to talk about, send us an email at thegreatestmoviepodcast@gmail.com.